There's a bridge in Alabama that doesn't exist yet. It has been planned for nearly 30 years. It has already been killed by a Facebook group, abandoned by its own contractor, and now sits squarely in the path of the next major Gulf hurricane. Today, it carries the title of the most expensive infrastructure project in Alabama history. And every time it gets close to being built, something tears it apart. This is the $3.7 billion Mobile River Bridge and Bayway. Along the Gulf Coast, Interstate 10 is a lifeline. It stretches from Los Angeles to Jacksonville, tying together ports, refineries, and the cities of the American South. But somewhere between New Orleans and Pensacola, all of that traffic funnels into a tiny stretch of road in Mobile, Alabama. There, an aging tunnel built in 1973 carries roughly 75,000 vehicles a day, more than double what it was designed to handle. Beside it, a low-elevation bridge crosses Mobile Bay, sitting just feet above the waterline. For decades, engineers have agreed this corridor needs replacing. The state agrees. The federal government agrees. Even the truckers crawling through it agree. So how is it that, year after year, the project keeps falling apart? Before we go further, click subscribe and like this video. The story of the Mobile River Bridge is one of America's strangest infrastructure failures. The roots of this problem are old. The Bankhead Tunnel under the Mobile River opened in 1941, the first underwater road tunnel in the American South. It was a marvel of New Deal engineering, built for cars that barely cracked 60 miles an hour. 3 decades later, in 1973, the larger George Wallace Tunnel opened just to the south, designed to carry around 35,000 vehicles a day. For a while, that was enough. Then, Mobile changed. The Port of Mobile became one of the fastest growing container ports in the United States. Container traffic doubled between 2015 and 2025. Walmart, Amazon, Hyundai, and Airbus all built operations in the region. Trucks poured in, so did beach traffic from Florida. By the early 2000s, peak summer days were pushing more than 100,000 vehicles through a tunnel built for 35,000. Worse, the tunnel cannot be widened, it cannot be raised. And the largest modern container ships need clearance the tunnel will never provide. Engineers concluded the entire corridor had to go. A new 10-mile stretch of Interstate 10, a 2.5-mile cable-stayed bridge soaring 215 feet over the river. A new Bayway elevated above any future hurricane. The plan was bold, the plan was urgent, and then the plan met the public. In 2019, Alabama finally rolled out its design. To pay for the $3 billion project, the state turned to a public-private partnership. A private consortium would build the bridge and recover its costs through tolls. The proposed price was simple: $6 each way for the full corridor, and $90 a month for an unlimited commuter pass. To Alabama planners, it sounded reasonable. To the people who would actually pay it, it sounded like a tax. Within weeks, a Facebook group called Block the Mobile Bayway Toll exploded past 50,000 members. Tea Party conservatives joined forces with Baldwin County Democrats. Libertarians joined hands with city mayors. Every congressional candidate in the region opposed the plan. Public hearings turned into shouting matches. And then, on August 28, 2019, a small regional planning board on the eastern shore of Mobile Bay voted 8-1 to remove the project from its transportation plan. That single vote made federal funding legally impossible. Hours later, Governor Kay Ivey released a statement with 7 words that define the next 5 years. There is no pathway forward. This project is dead. The bridge that everyone agreed Alabama needed had been killed by a Facebook group. The project sat dormant for years, but by 2023, with new financing, lower tolls, and federal support, it was revived. The state split the work between 2 giant joint ventures. Kiewit, Massman, and Trailer would build the bridge, and Flatiron and Lane Construction would build the Bayway. Construction was finally on the horizon. Then in March 2025, With no public warning and almost no explanation, the Bayway team walked away. Both sides called it mutual. Industry reporting pointed to cost overruns and scope disputes. The state scrambled. Within weeks, Kiewit's group absorbed the entire project, and the price jumped from roughly $3.5 billion to $3.7 billion almost overnight. A month later, U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy stood at a podium and finalized a $550 million federal grant, calling it the largest grant his department had delivered. America, he said, was building again. But the groundbreaking had already slipped to 2026. And the clock is ticking. While engineers test foundation piles in Mobile Bay, the existing Bayway still sits low against the water. Hurricane season arrives every June. Hurricane Sally, only a Category 2 storm, shut down the Bayway in 2020 and flipped 2 semi-trucks on its surface. Hurricane Katrina, 15 years earlier, sent a surge of nearly 12 feet into Mobile, closed the Wallace Tunnel, and tore apart the nearby causeway. An offshore oil rig broke loose and slammed into a neighboring bridge. A direct major hurricane during the next 5 years of construction could destroy the existing Bayway before its replacement is finished, stranding more than 600,000 coastal Alabamians on the wrong side of Mobile Bay. The new design was built specifically to prevent that nightmare. The replacement Bayway will sit 14 feet above the 100-year storm surge, on average 8 feet higher than today's deck. The new bridge will rise 215 feet, the second tallest in the United States, over a navigable waterway, beaten only by the Golden Gate. It will future-proof the Port of Mobile, finally allowing the largest container ships in global trade to reach Alabama. But first, the state has to actually build it, and the obstacles are stacking up. The federal infrastructure loan, expected to cover nearly half the cost, has not been finalized. Material costs continue to rise. The toll structure, while dramatically reduced, still draws criticism, and every delay carries a price no one can predict. The longer Mobile waits, the more expensive the project becomes. The longer it waits, the closer the next storm gets. The most expensive bridge Alabama has ever attempted has, in some sense, never stopped failing. What is happening in Mobile is not just an Alabama story. It is a window into how American mega projects collide with politics, weather, and the limits of public patience. Bridges this big are built once in a century, and Mobile has been trying to build this one for 30 years. Whether shovels finally hit the ground in 2026, or whether the project falls apart again, only time will tell. If you found this fascinating, hit subscribe for more stories like this.